Good afternoon, friends. It's been a long time since we've done this. Since the last time we've done this, my channel has grown significantly. So it's reasonable to suspect there'll be new people watching this that have never watched any of my movie reviews before or reactions. So just to give you a quick rundown, what we do is we just discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly and keep it relatively spoiler-free. There's some things that, the mainstream audience already knows. Like, we know Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are in the movie, so that's not necessarily a spoiler. So without further ado, let's begin. So the good. It's fun. It's another fun movie. It's very easily comparable to the first in the terms of a popcorn movie with a decent story that's you can follow and is coherent and is an enjoyable ride. Some characters, once again, steal the show. Personally, for me, Scarlet Witch is one of them. There's a lot of scenes involving her that are very rewarding to watch as a fan of the genre. My only criticism of her portrayal in the film is that her mental stability seems inconsistent. Sometimes she seems like the Scarlet Witch that you know, and sometimes she seems like a different kind of Scarlet Witch. Vision is just about perfect. Perfect. I rarely say that, especially about a Marvel character being portrayed in a film, but it's on the money. There's so many homages to him and so much care taken with every aspect of his portrayal character-wise, from his origins to his tone to some of the things that he does to his fight scenes. It's on the money. There's also a scene specifically, once again, spoiler-free, towards the end, and you'll know it when you see it, that just feels like when you're reading a major event in a graphic novel or the last issue of a series you've been following and of an event, where you get to that page of climax right before the end, that's this double page splash, and there's a sequence towards the end of the film that just feels like that. It's like how you imagine that when you read those books as a young person and as an adult. When you see that double page splash of action, it's pretty much the live action version of that. It may have even captured it in a way that I wouldn't have thought possible. There are a few older characters that haven't gotten their fair share of shine that they have developed a bit more, which have been nice. As a fan of comics, you know that in your heart and in your head there's certain things that you want to see done, that you want to see on the big screen, that you've always wanted to see on the big screen, that you may have never even thought possible, right? And this movie does definitely deliver that. Scarlet Witch warping reality, Infinity Stones in action, character origins done with care, small head nods to things that you know will have long-lasting consequences to their continuity, characters attempting to wield Thor's hammer, and Hulk-busting armor. But that doesn't mean it's all puppy dogs and rainbows, which brings us to the bad. One of my problems with this movie is that while there's new characters and new action sequences and new effects, which are done beautifully, and new threats, the movie itself doesn't really do anything new. In a lot of ways, it's almost as if there's no uncharted territory. It almost mirrors the first in so many ways that while enjoyable, it just kind of leaves you empty. Like nothing new was really discovered. No new pages were really turned to. I don't think Marvel has depleted their bag of tricks, but I just don't feel like they brought many new ones out to show. It's unfortunate. It really brings the movie down a step, but it's as if it's kind of more of the same. The upside of it is that the same is enjoyable. The downside of it is we're not going into any real new uncharted waters. Now, for the ugly, I really only have two complaints. Let's get the easy one out of the way. I don't know much about Ultron. I know how he was created, which isn't the way he was created in this movie universe. And I've read one story with him in it. But the story that I read with him in it wasn't the Ultron that I saw on that screen in total. There were times when that Ultron was there, but there was also a lot of other times where he just seemed like a knockoff Iron Man. And I get how that makes sense plot-wise. I'm just saying I didn't personally enjoy it. I never felt any sort of threat from the character. I never really took his threats and his schemes and his overall plots too seriously because he didn't always act seriously. And they don't spend a whole lot of time developing the gravity of his actions because there's just so much else they have to get accomplished. And the movie's already 2 hours and whatever. So there were times when I saw Ultron and I loved what I saw. And then there was times where I saw Ultron where I was like, I don't know who that is. The only other bit of ugliness that I ran into is something that we do have to discuss. So Marvel gets a lot of praise in its cinematic universe for being lighthearted and fun and joyful and so on and so forth, while DC abstains a certain amount of criticism for being joyless and dark and gritty and blah, blah, blah. And I can see both sides of that argument, and I can see how they're both accurate, and I can see how they both work for both universes and whatever. I'm good with DC the way that it seems to be setting itself up, and I'm good with Marvel the way that they've been doing business. I have news for you fanboys. It's possible to be a fan of both. And you can have a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox. It's possible. These things are not impossible. They're possible. You can also like Star Wars and Star Trek. But don't tell them old Scully told you. However, I do feel like there was an overabundance of jokes in this movie. And it's not that they weren't good jokes, although some of them I was like, meh. But it's not as though I don't enjoy the good ones. I just feel like a lot of them could have been trimmed off. And a lot of the jokes seem to take place right at the end of the scene. And I had a hard time kind of buying in and sinking my teeth into the material because the moment that a scene started to have some serious weight to it, somebody would drop a punchline and then they'd cut the scene. You know, it's just, it took me out of it. The weight and gravity of the situation that was at hand, I just start to buy into, and then somebody is brushing it off with a joke that makes me feel like there's no real big deal of a threat. And as a viewer, I found that frustrating. It's hard to take things seriously when you have characters that... Your reign of terror is over, Ultron. Now that was an exaggeration, and obviously it wasn't that bad, but for me, as a viewer trying to really fall into the universe, it did snap me out of it the same way that that snapped you out of what I was talking about and just provided maybe a few lulls. But overall, I definitely did enjoy it. I definitely had fun watching it. I definitely suggest that you go see it in the theater for that cinematic experience of it. Just don't expect anything mind-blowingly new. Don't expect anything to kind of rock your world as far as what Marvel has presented to you in the past, and be prepared for a lot of jokes that sometimes feel inappropriate and forced in my opinion. But it's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding as a comic book fan to see so many Avengers together and see them kind of do what they do. I give it a 7 out of 10, and that's a pretty good score for me. I'm hard to please. So with that being said, I will let you go. If you guys have seen it or whatever, feel free to let me know what you thought. And don't get me wrong, the Marvel fanboys, I enjoyed it. I liked it. Calm down. Calm down. See you next time. Take it easy. I'm just saying I didn't need to see the first movie again, and I would have liked to sink my teeth into something with a little bit more gravity from time to time. But I still enjoyed it. Still got my money's worth. Still recommend it, and look forward to a lot of things that it's set up and looks like it will set up successfully in the future. And it sets up a lot. I also wonder if, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has taken so much time slow burning these ideas and these concepts to give you the big payoff. I just hope that with so much that they set up in this one, that they once again take their time with those individual elements for another payoff, instead of trying to give you from now until the end payoff after payoff after payoff. You know, sometimes it's better to walk down and get them all than run down and get one, if you know what I'm saying. Also, my city is in a fair amount of turmoil itself right now. So keep your thoughts and prayers, or whatever you do in terms of support, focused on Baltimore. it's a lot more complicated than any one side would have you believe. There's layers and layers and layers to what is and what has been going on in that city for some time on both sides of the aisle, so to speak. But when we fall apart, nobody really wins. So keep Baltimore in your thoughts. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.